All right, everybody, get ready because today we are going deep into some seriously thought-provoking stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to be tackling chapter 1 of Jim Collins's Good to Great.
Ooh, yeah.
And, you might be thinking, okay, business book, got it. But hold
Yeah.
on, because this isn't just about, spreadsheets and boardrooms. This
Yeah.
is about understanding why some companies, some teams, even people go from just being good to absolutely crushing it,
Totally.
And what holds the rest back?
Right.
Now, I'll admit this chapter, it might seem a little academic at first glance,
Mm-hmm.
but we're here to kind of break it down and pull out the gold. So just trust us.
What I find so captivating about Collins's work is that it's not just some guru like spouting theories from an ivory tower,
Right.
He based Good to Great on this massive research project,
Huge.
analyzing over 1,400 companies to try to decode what separates the truly exceptional from those who are just coasting along.
Yeah, it's like he's not just telling us what he thinks works, he's showing us what actually works based on real-world data.
Exactly.
Okay, so the central idea that kind of jumps out right away from this chapter is that whole good is the enemy of great thing.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, when I first heard that, I was like, huh, is it good?
Why?
Okay.
It sounds so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how when things are going pretty well, it's easy to just kind of stay in that comfort zone?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
We stop pushing ourselves as hard,
Mm.
and that's where the danger lies.
Mm.
Collins argues that settling for good enough can actually prevent us from achieving true greatness.
Right.
It's like we hit a plateau, we get comfy instead of looking for the next peak to climb.
Yeah, it's like that whole ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for idea,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We're not meant to just stay docked.
Exactly. And Collins found that it's often those who are willing to leave that safe harbor to embrace risk and discomfort who make those remarkable leaps forward.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how Collins figured all this out.
Yeah,
It wasn't just a random hunch, right?
definitely not. His team spent 5 years immersed in data,
Wow.
analyzing 1,435 Fortune 500 companies to pinpoint those rare cases where a company went from solid performance to just blowing away the competition.
Yeah.
We're talking outperforming their industry by at least 3 times for 15 years or more.
That's
That
wow.
kind of sustained success is just mind-blowing.
5 years. Talk about dedication.
I know, right?
So they found these good to great companies, but what about everybody else?
Right.
Were they just studying success, or did they look at the other side of the coin too?
That's where it gets even more insightful.
Okay.
They also identified what they call comparison companies that either stayed at that good level or actually declined over the same period.
Interesting.
By comparing the two groups, they could start to isolate the factors that truly made a difference.
So it's like holding a magnifying glass up to success and failure to see what patterns emerge? Okay, I'm hooked. Give me an example. Who made that leap to greatness?
One company that stands out is Walgreens.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day, they were just another drugstore chain.
Right.
But they made this conscious decision to focus on customer experience.
Okay.
They invested heavily in things like employee training, so their staff was super knowledgeable and friendly.
Nice.
They redesigned their stores to be more convenient, and they even implemented systems for faster prescription filling.
Smart.
These weren't like flashy, revolutionary changes, but they were disciplined choices executed consistently over years.
Mm.
And the result, they became a dominant force in the pharmacy world.
That's fascinating. So it wasn't some groundbreaking technology or a celebrity CEO that
Right.
drove their success. It was just this laser focus on the fundamentals executed really well.
Exactly. And it really challenges that whole overnight success
Yeah.
myth.
Right.
Greatness, it seems, is more about steady progress, not those sudden bursts of magic.
But wouldn't you say there are some exceptions? I mean, some companies, DO, seem to just explode onto the scene.
Sure.
How does Collins explain that?
He acknowledges those cases,
Yeah.
but he also points out that a lot of those companies that seem like overnight sensations were actually laying the groundwork for years
Yeah.
before they became household names.
Okay.
They were building momentum behind the scenes, making those disciplined choices even when they weren't in the spotlight.
Okay, so it's more like they were pushing that giant flywheel
Yeah.
slowly at first, and then bam, it starts spinning on its own and everybody notices.
That's a great analogy. And speaking of flywheels, that's one of the key concepts that Collins introduces in this chapter.
Okay.
He uses it as a metaphor to describe the process of building greatness.
All right, I love a good metaphor. Break down this flywheel for me.
Imagine a giant heavy wheel.
Okay.
At first, it takes a ton of effort to even budget.
Right.
But with each push, you gain a little more momentum.
Okay.
Eventually, that wheel starts spinning on its own, and it becomes easier and easier to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Collins sees building a great company. It's not about some grand sweeping gesture, but a series of consistent, focused actions that build upon each other.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this applies beyond the business world. It's like training for a marathon, right?
Right.
You don't just wake up one day and run 26 miles.
Yeah.
It's those daily runs slowly increasing your distance, building that momentum.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that Collins found that many of the good to great companies weren't even aware that they were building something extraordinary at first. They were just focused on doing the right things day after day.
Right.
It was only later when the results became undeniable that they realized they had created something truly remarkable.
So it's almost like focusing on the process on building those good habits is more important than obsessing over the outcome in the beginning.
That's a really powerful insight. It's almost like trusting that if you focus on the right actions, the results will take care of themselves.
You know, that really resonates with me. When I was learning guitar, I got so hung up on trying to play full songs right away that I would get frustrated and almost quit.
Yeah.
It was only when I shifted my focus to just practicing scales and chords every day, you know, those seemingly small steps,
Right.
that I started making real progress.
That's a perfect example. And it highlights how this flywheel concept can be applied to any area of life where we're striving for excellence.
Right.
Whether it's music, athletics, writing, or even just building better habits, it's that consistent, disciplined effort that compounds over time.
Okay, so thinking about our listener here, how can they practically apply this flywheel concept to their own lives or work? What are some tangible steps they can take?
Well, it starts with identifying those areas where you want to achieve true excellence, where good enough just doesn't cut it.
Right.
Once you got that target in mind, it's all about breaking down that big, audacious goal into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Okay.
What are the daily actions, those pushes on the flywheel, that will move you closer to that goal?
So instead of getting overwhelmed by the enormity of the goal, we should focus on those micro wins. Those daily actions that build momentum.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that these actions might seem insignificant at first. You might not see dramatic results overnight.
Right.
But like those good to great companies trust that those consistent efforts are laying the foundation for something extraordinary.
Okay, so consistency is key. But isn't there a danger in becoming too focused on the process? What about adaptability?
Oh, that's a great point.
The world is constantly changing, after all.
You're right. Being adaptable is crucial. And Collins actually addressed this in his later work.
Okay.
He pointed to the example of Circuit City,
Oh, yeah.
a company that was featured in Good to Great, that later struggled and ultimately went out of business.
Yeah, that always stood out to me. I was like, wait, I thought these companies were supposed to be unstoppable. What happened there?
Well, it highlights that achieving greatness isn't a one-time event.
Right.
It's an ongoing process.
Okay.
And just like a ship needs to adjust its course to navigate changing winds and currents, even great companies need to be able to adapt and evolve as the world changes around them.
So even those who reach the top can't just rest on their laurels. They need to keep pushing that flywheel, but also be ready to adjust their approach as needed.
Absolutely. The key takeaway here is that the principles Collins identified aren't some magical formula for guaranteed success.
Right.
They're more like a compass guiding us toward enduring excellence by emphasizing discipline, consistency, and adaptability.
So it's a delicate balance between staying the course and being willing to change direction when needed.
Yes.
It's like stay focused on your goals, but don't be afraid to tweak your approach as you learn and grow.
That's a great way to put it, and I think that's a really empowering message for anyone listening.
Yeah.
Whether you're running a company, leading a team, or just working on personal goals, embracing that journey of continuous improvement with both discipline and flexibility is what ultimately leads to true greatness.
It's like we're all on this exciting adventure, and Good to Great is giving us the tools and insights to navigate the path. But we still have to make the choices and put in the effort to reach our destination.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up our exploration of this first chapter, I'm reminded of another thought-provoking idea Collins brings up.
Okay.
He talks about Simon Sinek's Start With Why framework, which emphasizes the importance of purpose.
Right.
But Collins suggests that focusing on your why might actually be more effective after you've achieved a certain level of performance.
Wait, really? So you're saying maybe we don't need to start with why right away?
Well, it's not that purpose isn't important. It absolutely is.
Okay.
But Collins' research suggests that when you're first starting out, when you're in that good stage,
Right.
it might be more beneficial to focus on building those core disciplines, those habits of excellence.
Okay.
Then once you've got that flywheel spinning, that's when you can really leverage the power of purpose to propel yourself to even greater heights.
That's so interesting. I've always heard start with why. So this is a totally different perspective.
It is.
It's like why becomes the fuel that keeps the flywheel spinning once it's already in motion.
Exactly. And it speaks to the idea that there's a natural progression to achieving greatness.
Right.
It's not about trying to do everything all at once. It's about focusing on the right things at the right time.
Okay, I'm really digging this layered approach to success, but let's bring it back to our listener.
Okay.
If they could only take away one thing from this deep dive into Chapter 1 of Good to Great, what would it be?
If I had to distill it down to a single point, it would be this. Don't let good be the enemy of your potential.
I love that. It's like a rallying cry for anyone who feels stuck or complacent.
It is.
It's a powerful reminder that we're all capable of more than we often give ourselves credit for.
So true.
We just need to break free from the allure of good enough and embrace the journey of building something truly great.
And remember, that journey isn't about overnight transformations or some magical formula.
Yeah.
It's about those consistent, disciplined actions, those daily pushes on the flywheel that build momentum over time.
So no magic bullets or shortcuts. Just good old-fashioned effort and a willingness to keep learning and growing along the way.
Well, it's not just about working hard. It's about working smart.
Right.
Making those strategic choices that align with your goals.
Yeah.
And then executing them with consistency and discipline.
Yeah.
That's where the real magic happens.
I think what's so cool about Collins' work is that it's grounded in real-world data.
Yes.
It's not just some feel-good self-help stuff.
Right.
He's actually analyzed what separates the high performers from the rest, and that makes his insights so much more compelling.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me was his emphasis on humility.
Oh, yeah.
He found that many of the good to great leaders weren't these charismatic, larger-than-life figures.
Interesting.
They were often quiet, humble individuals who focused on building great teams and systems rather than seeking personal glory.
That's such a refreshing perspective.
I know, right?
It's like true greatness isn't about ego or self-promotion. It's about a genuine commitment to excellence and a willingness to put the team and the mission above personal gain.
Precisely. And I think that's a really important lesson for all of us, regardless of our field or aspirations.
Absolutely.
Whether we're leading a company, a team, or just striving to be our best selves, focusing on building something bigger than ourselves is often the key to unlocking true greatness.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a question to ponder inspired by this first chapter.
Okay.
What's one area of your life or work that's good right now, but has the potential to be great?
And building on that, what's one small disciplined action you can take today to start building momentum in that area? What's your first push on the flywheel?
Ooh, I love that challenge. It's like a call to action for all of us to step up and start building our own versions of greatness.
It is.
And remember, it's not about perfection or instant results. It's about embracing the journey, trusting the process, and making those consistent, deliberate choices that will lead you toward your ultimate goals.
Beautifully said. And for those who want to go even deeper into these ideas, we highly recommend checking out Good to Great for yourselves.
Yeah.
It's packed with insights and examples that can help you unlock your own potential for greatness.
And who knows? Maybe you'll be the next Good to Great story we feature on a future deep dive.
That'd be awesome.
Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and never settle for good when you know you're capable of so much more. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of knowledge and ideas.
Sounds good.
See ya.
Bye.